books, books, and some more books. Welcome back, guys, to another book review. Thank everybody that has been following or listening on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify. Search BiblioMe to listen to all your or my book reviews on the Spotify. But let's get into today's book. And today is a little bit different. May I present Half His Age by Jennette Mccurdy. So I saw this being heavily publicized by the publishers. I follow a few publishers on Instagram so I can know what exactly is coming out, but also to see exactly what is out right now, what they are promoting, etc. etc. So I've seen Jennette's previous book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, and I never really understood it. It was something I knew that was really popular on TikTok, because every time I would search book talk books, like Google would always shoot up I'm Glad My Mom Died. So it was something I knew of. I had no idea exactly also why it was a biography as well. That was just something that was completely new to me. It was something I always saw in the biography section. But that was all I knew about Jennette. That was all I knew about Glad My Mom Died. And that was really it. So when I saw this popping up on my Instagram stories a lot of people picking this up, a lot of the publisher sending this to a lot of people, I was like, this looks like a age gap romance. I haven't read romance in a long time. I've read obviously, recently at least, I've read a lot of fantasy, a lot of non-fiction, stuff like that. But not really anything necessarily specifically romance. So I saw this book and I was like, oh, this would be a perfect time to kind of like just hop onto it. It wasn't specifically book talk, so I knew it wasn't something like niche or cliche, because a lot of book talk books kind of follow the same trope, whether it's in dark romance, supernatural books, romantasy books, stuff like that. To see this come out by Jennette of all people, and I've heard is really the wrong word. It's more like I've read enough throughout my life to kind of understand that Jennette Mccurdy is a good writer by the knowledge of seeing so many people go on about books. And it was not Half His Age, it was I'm Glad My Mom Died. And knowing her and knowing the following that she has and the fans that are following her, I was like, okay, cool, this would be something interesting to get into. It hasn't jumped the entire list of books I have on my TBR right now. Yes, it has. It hasn't jumped all the stack of books that are sitting like next to my bed, on my desk over there, on my bookshelves over there. Yes, it has. But sometimes that just happens. A book comes up like this and basically jumps everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, this will be an easy read. Let me do this. It's been a while, etc., etc. Whatever delulu reason I need basically to just pick up this book and read it. But for all the people that are interested in a book like this, if there was a sentence that I could give to kind of describe it, it would be the movie Miller's Girl meets Euphoria and Sex Education, those shows. But let me give you the premise. So Waldo is a teenage girl, most probably in her final year. I can't exactly remember right now. It's kind of weird when I do that. Whenever I do reviews, I can never remember it, but immediately after or at random times when I'm walking, I can always remember random details about the book. But when I'm doing the review itself, there's just like small little bits of information that slip my mind completely. But Waldo is a teenage girl. Her mother is not exactly the best, but she is present in the sense that, she is sometimes in the house. But she usually doesn't see her mother. Her mother's kind of obsessed with being with a man. She's kind of associating her value with being with men. And basically, Waldo has this thing where she has this tendency to spiral and online. She has this addiction to online shopping. She works a part-time job at Victoria's Secret, so she has an income. So a lot of times when she spirals, she empties a cart out on Amazon, or she empties a cart on Shein and stuff like that. And she doesn't have that intimacy. She doesn't have that level of connection. And that's something that is made very clear early on, at least, that she's looking for. She's looking for that connection. But anyways, Waldo is with somebody. She breaks up with him because it's not really, there's no connection, like I said. And she heads to school. She doesn't have a real connection with anybody, her friends, or friends, quote unquote, because like friends in the loosest terms. They don't really know each other, but they've been around each other for years at this point, so they're friends technically. Like I said, she's also hasn't been around her mother really. She didn't really know her father either, so she doesn't have that connection. And for whatever reason, she's zeroed in on this creative writing teacher named Mr. Corgi, and he's mid levels of attractiveness. He's middle age sadness, age, anything you associate with middle age in terms of like stereotypical. Picture Mr. Corgi, basically. That's what it is. And basically, she zeroes in on him one day, and for whatever reason, whether it's a conscious decision she makes, a subconscious decision she makes, she decides he is the connection that she's been missing. Never mind the fact that he's her elder, never mind the fact that he's a teacher, a superior, never mind the fact, of course, that he is happily married and has a child. But she wants him, and she convinces herself to high heaven that she's going to get him. Because basically, this is the connection that she's missing. That he already, by just being in her life, is making her feel in a way totally different to any other guy she's been with. And this book kind of encompasses the complexity of growing up and of being in love. So it encompasses the emotions of coming of age, your body changing, you developing in different ways. But it also encompasses, the childhood trauma, with the absence of adults, the absence of love, the absence of what a parent should and shouldn't be doing, and how it affects a child. And you can kind of see Waldo as being the byproduct of all those things. And it's such a complex, like as it is a romance book, basically, in the sense that it markets itself as, oh, okay, even if you look at the cover, oh, okay, it's a girl sucking one of her fingers. It's seductive. It's supposed to be sexy, I suppose. That's kind of what it's marketing. But it is there. Like, it is there. There are chapters where there are things happening, where they are getting intimate, etc., etc. But this book is so much more. It is entirely about the complexity of being human, of growing up and dealing with these issues, of finding yourself, of, the compulsities and of the complexities of falling for somebody you shouldn't, but craving that connection that you lacked your entire life. And that's where you get like Miller's Girl, in the sense that, okay, some people find that attractive, going for older partners or going for taboo partners such as, teachers, lecturers, stuff like that, or husbands. It's more centered on like the sex education or euphoria side of that statement that I made early on, where you're dealing with these changes and your hormones and emotions and these elements, but you're also dealing with life's challenges and how it affects you and where you're supposed to go and what you're expecting of yourself, but how you see the world and all these questions that you and I deal with every single day. It's kind of encompassed by this book, but it's veiled, or the cover is set up in such a way where it's supposed to promote intimacy, it's supposed to promote connection, it's supposed to promote sex, it's supposed to promote the taboo. Such a complex and crazy story that takes you to places that you were not even expecting. But Jennette's ability to take these two mundane characters, and what would be mundane for book readers, because obviously you just look at any range of books that you've ever read, whether it be crime thriller, whether it be young adult, whether it be book talk, whether it be biography. These people are all like complex and different and unique and everything like that, and we're putting random adjectives and adverbs and words to describe the uniqueness and amazing qualities that make this person that person specifically, That's theirs. These words are theirs. But these words that are encompassing Walter and Mr. Corgi are sort of like, if Jennette was any less talented, it would be sort of a mid book in a weird way. It wouldn't be as good as it is, and that's all straight down for Jennette, and that's obviously I applaud your ability. But I'm also obviously a reader. And I don't read just for the sake of reading. Oh, this book is popular. People want me to read it, so let me read it. Tell you my thoughts. You can decide then based on my thoughts if you read it or not. It's not that at all. I'm actually also reading it for enjoyment. So it's a bit so at an objective level, I can say, man, this is a work of art. This is Jennette's piece of art, and if I could own a copy and put it on my wall, I would be happy to, because this is a piece of art. I can be objective in that sense, but I'm also subjective because I read books for enjoyment. I read them to learn, to become emotionally mature, to pull characteristics out of books that I can attach to myself and say, okay, I never thought of things in that way. I never thought about emotions in this way. I never thought of doing things in such a manner. Like, the things you're able to pull from books is such an objective but subjective test sometimes, that it's kind of hard to kind of look at books and say objectively somebody out there likes this, subjectively somebody sees the complexities exactly as I do, objectively this is a work of art, subjectively I didn't like it. That it's the embodiment of complexities of literature, essentially. But I liked it. The chapters are very short, they're like maybe 2 pages. Again, of course, the story is complex. The story and what is unsaid is complex. What is said is meant to be mundane and meant to be simple, and I can identify that, which made reading it super fast. Like, I read it maybe for an hour on my way to work, and by then I was already on page 50 or 100, and I think maybe 20 chapters in, because that's how much chapters are in 100 pages. Like, the chapters are literally maybe the longest 5 pages. Like, that's how long this book is. But let me give you a broad overview of this book. So, like I said, she breaks up with somebody, and for whatever reason, she zeroes in on Mr. Corgi, sees all his mundaneness, his mediocrity. I think that's the word. Correct me if I'm wrong. She sees his middle-agedness, etc., and she decides there's something there that is for her. It's the connection that she's been missing. So she starts pining over him, and she does this in ways of like focusing on her work, being extremely honest and reflective of herself, of her traumatic background, and the complexities of her relationship with her mother, of their home, and putting it into the creative writing to kind of let go, but also to attract him. She can clearly identify, and she's self-aware enough to identify that he is a creative writer that wasn't able to achieve his dreams, and he's looking for that creative outlet, and she is pouring herself into this under the pretense, obviously, that she can get him to notice her through her writing, which inevitably works. And he invites her over for dinner with his family. They're based in Alaska, so maybe that is normal. But when I saw that, I was like, this is a radio red flag. Like, why is my teacher inviting me to dinner with their family? Like, as much as like teachers love their students, I've never heard of this, but maybe that's an American thing. Like, I'm not sure. Like, you can tell me. But yeah, he starts doing stuff like that. It starts to become progressively a bit more. They exchange numbers. They text each other back and forth, and they spend some more time. And eventually, there comes this moment where they go on a walk together. Night. I'm assuming it's night. In my head, it's night sometimes, but obviously Alaska with its sunlight and everything, it could have been like, you don't know actually. But in my mind, it's at nighttime. They meet up for this walk, and essentially she sees this as the first opportunity where they get to be outside of school, outside of conventional settings, such as like at his home, in a classroom, whatever the case is, and they get to be alone. And she takes a chance with him, and he obviously rebuffs her. This is the part of the story where he still has the moral high ground, where he still has the moral codes, where he still has like this responsibility or this mindset where he's like, I'm an adult, you're a child, because she's also still under 18, and it's like, I can't do this with you, it's illegal, I have my family, yada yada yada, you know. And obviously this hurts Waldo. You know, this makes Waldo spiral. This she goes heavy into her online shopping. She goes heavy into purchasing these things, and she is aware that, you know, emptying her carts on Amazon and this and that and whatever is really just her version of, maybe if she buys this and it comes, it'll fix her, because she is placing her self-worth and her psychological value, or her value as a human being, on these things. And when they come and they don't sit right on her and everything, she needs to go essentially buy more, because maybe there is the thing that she can she can physically purchase, and therefore correct herself, fix herself. But of course, eventually they do. They get back together. They start doing things together. There's a bit of a back and forth where things go on, things go off. There's like times where he steps a bit away, but there's never ever a really like cut off where he's like, oh, where they're like, no, we can't do this anymore, And you can see as the story goes on that morals disappear, high ground disappears, whatever the case is, and Waldo becomes to realize that, okay, she doesn't need to pine over him so much. She doesn't need to put in that effort that she did in the beginning, because now that she has him, she has this power and this high ground where she can make him come to her. And then that is also something that makes her feel like she is fixed. But of course, it eventually begins to sour, because there's the expectation that he will spend some time with her, like during holidays and stuff, when there's no school or whatever the case is. And then this falls through, obviously, because he does still have a wife, he does still have a child, and they have plans and things like that. So this begins to affect Waldo as well, because she's obviously placing a lot of herself and her self-worth on this relationship. And if Mr. Corgi is not giving her that attention, that love, that admiration, she feels like she is worthless, and whatever the case is. And Mr. Corgi doesn't realize it, but as these little indiscretions come along, and the wife gets in the way, he asks her to go to the shopping mall for something, for groceries or whatever. He has to go pick up his child from daycare, whatever. Waldo is the wife is inserting herself into their relationship, Waldo and Mr. Corgi's, and then basically Waldo is like not in her mind wanting to say that, hey, you need to leave your wife now, but basically in her mind as well, like getting less and less accepting and understanding for this bizarre situation, which is now basically them two, and on the other side, his wife and his child. So eventually they call it a quits, because Waldo can't do it. She goes through this entire journey of growth, because through her mother and through her father, or what she knows of her father, her mother's always like ingrained to her how to treat a man, how to worship a man, and stuff like that. And this is also just like another complexity of Waldo's character and her life, basically, that her mom associated her worth and her love and her value to a man, and if she could keep a man, this would be amazing. And if once the man left for whatever reason, it was up to little Waldo growing up to take care of her mom, because her mom would just be like extremely depressed and everything like that. And through this, she picked up all these tricks and traits and tips from her mother that sort of gave her, in a weird way, everything she needed to know on how to seduce Mr. Corgi in such a way that she does in this book, which makes it then all the more ironic that later on in the book, the mother then is able to clock this with assistance from somebody else, a friend, that, hey, she's addicted to being in a relationship and to being loved, because that's where she gets her self-worth from. So it's a bit ironic, because it's almost like Waldo's never had a mother, and now all of a sudden she has this thing, and now she's going to therapy or AA for this particular addiction, and now it's almost like, okay, now I'm working on myself. And Waldo is going through it. There are times of extreme highs and extremely, extremely worse lows, where the complexities of Waldo, whether it's her shopping, her shopping addiction, her nervousness, her anxiety, her impulsiveness is going through the wall. Like there's a one point where she's upset that Mr. Corgi is like that is not coming through, and he cancelled their plans, which was her birthday and everything. That she literally high key, low key breaks into his house, rifles through his bedroom and his bathroom, the one he shares with his wife, and then she just goes back home. She just gets back in the car and she goes back home. And it's so crazy because I was so panicking for her when she was there, and I was like, "There's no way you get away with this. Like, there's no way that nobody catches you in the fact that you climbed through the bathroom window and everything." But she gets away with it. So yeah. There's also the moment a bit later where she's kind of like waiting for Mr. Corky and everything, and she decides for whatever reason to spontaneously drive past his house, and she finds out that, hey, actually today's his birthday and he just never said anything. And this is where you can tell the relationship is blossoming more into a more than just a fantasy or a physical aspect, and how she wants everything. She wants these small moments, the moments where you wake up next to somebody, or the moments where you are able to celebrate birthdays, these little mundane moments that usually mean nothing will just come naturally to some relationships. She wants them because obviously she's never had them from her father, from her mother, or from any boyfriend that she's had up until this point. But Waldo is obviously, at the end of the day, still a teenager. She is still a teenager. She's still working. And over this period, she is constantly going through emotional highs and lows, to the point where she wants to pull out. She wants to be done with Mr. Corgi. She doesn't really understand why she was into him. She experiences these moments of numbness where the emotion that she feels or she felt for him is not there. It's non-existent. And it's in these moments where Mr. Corgi becomes obsessed with her, and maybe he's like constantly texting her. And of course, eventually this leads to Mr. Corgi just telling her, "Oh, you please be with me," and everything like that. "I will do anything for you. I love you. You make me believe in myself. Whatever. I will leave my family for you." And Waldo doesn't know what to do with this. She doesn't know if she in her mind the whole time was rooting for this. She didn't want the wife there anymore. She didn't want the child there anymore. But now that it's actually on the table, she doesn't know. So she kind of leaves Mr. Gorgie to hang out there and try for a bit, panic, beg and everything. And then eventually she's like, "Okay, I'll meet you at this hotel. And if you are a minute late, then I'm calling it. This is over," etc., etc. Of course, he's there. He actually does leave his wife. He files for a divorce, and he moves out. He gets his things, and obviously buys an apartment somewhere. And at this point in time, Waldo's already turned 18. She's already graduated from not university, high school, but she hasn't gone to university. And this becomes later on a problem between her and Mr. Corgi, because he's kind of upset that she's still working retail and not pursuing university. And she starts to get those little moments, because obviously now he's living alone, so now she can see him a lot more. She's not going to school, so she can see him a lot more. And she gets the little moments, and she's starting to like wonder why she was pining over it so much. She was yearning for these little moments and everything. And now, as she finally has them, it's like, was this really all that trouble that we went through for? Was this all that effort for this, basically? And of course, she's beginning to question why she attracted, or she pined over all this trials and tribulations for these ordinary mundane things. She sees that her mother is now doing this AA group where she's bettering herself and all that, and she's seeing that she's now in this ordinary relationship with Mr. Corgi, and it's just like, why? Something you get through this entire video is not video or book is that Waldo it takes a time, and it takes repeating experiences almost in a weird way, things that are constantly going wrong, but her constantly having thoughts and just not acting on it, because she is a complex character in the sense that everything is a metaphor for the first thing in a weird way. And before I explain that, basically she begins to detach herself away from Mr. Corgi. She's like, okay, maybe I'll do this thing, maybe it'll ignite the spark again. Maybe it'll make her sense that connection. And of course it doesn't. And obviously it hits its peak when Mr. Corgi, who after the divorce or after he filed the divorce and moved out, he started writing his book again, and he eventually starts to quit. They start to fight a lot more because obviously Mr. Corgi is now noticing that Waldo is pulling away emotionally. She's not really into certain things anymore, etc., etc. And the book kind of ends in one of these instances where Waldo is realizing, okay, should she tell him? Should she not? Should she actually say something? Should she actually voice her emotions and everything like that? And Mr. Corgi pulls a 180 or 360 on her and hands her Hawaii tickets. Basically, let's go to Hawaii. Let's all those vacations and things that they tried to do where it was interrupted by his ex-wife now. Let's do them and let it not be interrupted, basically. Let's go to Hawaii together. And they go to the airport. They're waiting by the boarding gate and it hasn't been called yet, so she decides to go to the bathroom. And while she's at the bathroom, they call for the gate. Mr. Corgi is constantly texting her like, hey, they're going to call us any minute now. Hey, they're calling us. Hey, they're gonna check. I'm always to the front. Basically, they're gonna check us in now. Hey, where are you? Hey, we're gonna miss the flight. Are you okay? Blah blah. Blah. And basically, while she's sitting in this bathroom, she's just randomly fixing up her makeup, her lips, her eyelashes, etc. And she is aware that all these messages are coming through. She can read them all. She just continues with this task of being herself up, redoing everything that she needs to do. And then as she steps out of the bathroom, she goes the opposite direction, up the airport. And as she goes home, piece of resistance number 2, she gets home and she finds out that, hey, her mother actually relapsed. Or I don't want to make fun of it because it's kind of, I guess it's kind of serious, but some people do actually attach themselves to men in love and see that they can't be worth anything if they aren't being or on in love. But she finds her mother has been relapsed again. She's with her old ex-boyfriend that she broke up with the previous time. Waldo just grabs the things and she leaves and she basically disappears away from Mr. Corgi, away from the town, and away from her mother. Now, back to the metaphor that I was having, or that I was trying to say. So in the beginning of the book, which is very strange because it felt weird to kind of read about online shopping and Amazon and Temu and Shein in a book. It was just like something so modern and so like now in a book, even though it just came out literally right now. It's just, it's something, you don't really see it, in books, but it was weird. As she gets with Mr. Corgi and as she goes through this journey of a year and a half, that metaphor is still there. She's come to now possess exactly the thing that she was pining over for. Yet, whatever reason, has not exactly absolved her, it has not fixed her, it has not brightened her day, etc., etc. And it's the same metaphor as the shopping. She sees something, she wants to purchase it, she wants to acquire it, she wants to do something about it, to eventually obtain it with the idea that it would fix her. And then she does obtain it through her hard work, through her ingeniousness, through her underhandedness, I think is the word. And then she's quick to realize, but okay, this has not actually fixed me, and now she does not know what to do because now she's stuck in this situation where she has all these things. She has these clothes and all those carts of Amazon and Shein that she's bought and it's been delivered, but it doesn't work for her. She has Mr. Corgi and he has left his wife and his child and his life behind, but that's kind of the beauty of this book, and that's kind of the reason I enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it for the age gap relationship. I didn't enjoy it for Miller's Girl-esqueness. I didn't enjoy it for the spiciness. I picked it up and I realized how complex and how I can really, if I was not careful, I can really get myself into Waldo's mindset, and that was for me worrying because I was kind of like, am I too impressionable that I'm picking up my main character's tendencies, or am I really just identifying with Aldo? And it was just something that really pushed that book to here, just took it. So I would absolutely recommend it. I know people don't want to read it basically anyway because, of course, it does not look exactly the safest to read in public. I would definitely, if it's an audiobook, I'm not sure if it is an audiobook, but if you can obtain it by audiobook, give it a listen. You can obtain a physical copy by Exclusive Books, Bargain Books, anywhere, Amazon, whatever the case is. I would really, really, really suggest you read it. Just the complexity. There are tons of books that you can read for age gap relationships or spiciness, more spiciness if you want it. I believe Birthday Girl is one of them. I want to say Birthday Girl. I really think that this book is going to take your mind to places that you didn't think was possible. I'm going to call it there. Just a final word on this book in general. Just really enjoy when I'm able to analyze and deeply put myself into a book in a scenario that I would never find myself doing, having a relationship with an illegal relationship, essentially. I love when authors can take me something so far away, or someone so far away from Waldo, and somebody so far away from Miss Corky, and put me in a situation and a story that will make me think and feel in ways that I never thought possible. I think that's just the beauty of writing, the beauty of literature. I need to say thank you for Jennette Mccurdy, for allowing me to, extremely lucky to read a piece of writing like this. If you read this, tell me your thoughts and opinions down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I don't say that enough. Please like, comment, and subscribe.